All right, story time. Uh, man, I want to say what year was this? Maybe 2005. Maybe 2005. I got this large residential job. Right, it was in Torrance, between Torrance and Palisades, Pacific Palisades. Right, and I landed this job. It was like one of the biggest jobs I've had, and it dealt with stamped concrete, colored stamped concrete job. Man, colored stamped concrete, man. And I was excited to do the job, but also scared to do it, right? And I go to do the job. See if I can hold this up here. I go to do the job, right? And figuring out how to get guys there, and we're rocking and rolling, and I was paying guys. I think back then guys were $200 or 225 a day. I think stamped concrete guys was 250 a day, right? That's how much finishers were back then. I was even charging as a finisher back then, 200 or 250. And you got 250 if you were doing stamp, and you got 250 if you was like a lead, right? If it was like your job and you were leading it and can run the job or run the finishers. So I was paying guys to work that day, and I was paying guys to demo and things like that. And we were getting through the job, grading and everything. And we get to where we form setting, and where it was two tiered. It was just a step down. So you come out the back door, and it was a big area, and then you step one step down. There was another large area and another sliding door to some type of room that came out into the patio or the backyard. And then off from that in the back toward the back fence, we did a almost like a walk-in spa. So we built a platform so the spa can. All you do is have to just step up a little bit, maybe 6 inches, and you can step into the spa. So you step up and then step down into the spa. And I put drains in there and everything, put a little block wall around it where it sits, all that, man. It was crazy, man. And we poured. Now, one thing's with this project, it was stamped concrete in the middle, and they wanted like a California edge around the outside of it, which is like regular concrete, right? It's just not stamped, right? It's just a border that's not stamped. So it was like a 12-inch border that went around that. It was going to be the color of the concrete, but now the stamped concrete had a darker antique. The powder antique we threw down. So I mean, I forget how much this job was, man. I forget how much it was. But we're doing the job. We pour. Got a bunch of finishers there. I forget how many finishers I got there, but we're pouring it, and we poured the bands and stamped the concrete the same day. Now you always kind of worry about that because you got to avoid the release, right? The powder release, the color antique powder release getting on the bands, right? But we did a smaller project, so we was fine. And that wasn't even a problem. We didn't get no release on the borders. So we finished. The powder's sitting for a while, right? And I go back to pressure wash it, right? Now the homeowners are like, "Hey man, we wanted a dark color, this and that." I was like, "Well, the colors we picked are the colors we picked. Like I hope they come out dark too, right?" But I'm just telling them like, these are the colors that we picked, right? So I start pressure washing. It's looking good. I'm starting to pressure wash. Well, when I started to get round to the back door area, at the front of the step, there was a big gouge in the front of the step, the face of the step, the bottom step. Like someone hit the face of the step too hard with one of the stamps. I'm like, oh, and then now they're not starting to like the color now. They're like, oh, this is too light. This is not what we asked for. That's what they're starting to say, right? And I'm like, dude, what do you want me to do, man? Apply a sealer is going to enhance it, you know? So I'm still brushing off. I'm starting to run into like 2 bird baths, right? So they don't like that either. And the bird baths, is just where we hit it too hard with a stamp. Because one of the stamps were a little funky, man. I got these stamps from a guy that makes stamps in in Arcadia, California. And I rented it from him. And one of the stamps were a little funky, but we were just lightly stamping well. But I guess somebody probably hit that area with that stamp too hard. That's what I'm thinking. And they didn't like that area either, right? Now, the rest of it looked pretty good, as far as I remember. They had the step area and had a few other. And then what I did with that one, I saw cut diamonds into it. So I saw cut diamonds into it, still did it and everything. And we didn't do any groove lines. We did saw cut lines. We saw cut lines in it. All of it looked good. Had a few cracks, but nothing too major, right? Well, the homeowner was like, yeah, man, this is not what we paid for. They brought me over to the house, man. They were like, this is not what we paid for. We want something different. We saved up all our savings for this, and you screwed it up. The wife is crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. I'm like, this is why I don't do residential, right? This cigar is good too. No, my boy turned me on to this, man. Joe turned me on to this, man. Anyway, so they're crying and everything, and I'm like, okay, man, well, let me fix it. Now, once you screw up with a homeowner on a job like this, what do you become? You become incompetent. That's what you become now. Straight up. You become incompetent. Straight up. So now I'm incompetent, and they're like, well, what are we going to do? And then they had another buddy that was a landscaper that I guess did concrete sometimes, that they were kind of getting information from feedback on. So I was like, all right, man, let me try to fix it. Now, the hardest thing, doing color concrete, stamp color concrete with anti-release, it is nearly impossible to try to match this, right? There's no way that you can even try to match it. I spent weeks. I spent like $6,000, dude, in materials, just going there day after day, weeks trying to fix it, calling people in to try to fix it. Call some type of colorist in, dude, that was a painter, man, that dealt with like special projects. A buddy of mine linked me up with, couldn't get it, man, and trying to get it to stick too, as well, right? Back then, overlays was not popular, man, because overlays were known to pop up once it got cold. They were popping up, man. They were not really. It was not a really good product during that time. So then I just, after a while, just was like, I can't do anything, guys. If I lay it down, it's not looking right. The color's not matching. You could tell it looks different. I cannot match this, dude. I tried paint. I was mixing paint with acrylic. I was mixing all type of stuff, man. And it just wasn't working. So finally I went to the homeowners. I was like, hey, man, I can't, man. I tried everything. I don't have no more money to spend. I already lost all the money I made. I'm spending money outside. I think I spent another $3,000 outside of what I was making for that job. So I spent $3,000 of my money, I want to say, and all of it wasn't like mine cash. Some of it would belong to accounts, right? I was pulling materials from accounts. And they didn't like it, man. They were like, well, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? And I was like, man, I could give you money back. They were like, well, how much money are you gonna give us back? This is not right. We don't like this. I was like, all right, I'll give you $5,000 back. Oh man, they were crying. Mind you, they didn't decide this like overnight. It took weeks for them to decide this. Us going back and forth. I stopped going over there. I was dreading phone calls from them. All kind of stuff, man. So they finally agreed to do the 5,000, right? They was like, okay, but seal it because you said if you seal it, it's going the concrete's going to turn darker. At least you can give us that. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't say the concrete was going to turn darker. I said it's going to enhance the color of the concrete. They were like, no, you told us it was going to turn darker. I was like, listen, I almost feel like I should not seal this job because you're thinking it's going to be something else that it's not. And I don't want to do this. Like, well, that's what you told us. Now you're screwing this up. Oh, man, they were hammering me. And I was just like, listen, man, okay, it's going to enhance it. You accept the 5,000, I seal it, then we're done. You can get, and then I think at that time, the overlay was going to cost them like $2,000 or something low, man. And I was like, I wouldn't overlay it because it had to be a stamp overlay, so it had to be a certain thickness during that time, right? And my stamp overlay was just like a seamless texture, right? It wasn't anything of shape or like a slate stone. It was like a seamless texture rock. And so they were like, okay. So I go and seal a job. I actually had someone else go and seal a job because I was on another job at that time. So I had someone go seal a job. They called me cussing me out. You told us it was going to be darker or it was going to be a lot better. And it did enhance it. You guys know how silver enhances the color of the stamp. You guys know that. I told them it looks, I wet it. This is how it's going to look when it's sealed. It's going to look like this being wet. That's because that's what we do when we're taking pictures, right? We wet the concrete to make it look good, right? To make it look better. Let me not say good, to enhance the look of the concrete. And I was like, this is how it's going to look. It's something similar to this. But nonetheless, they were like, no, you told us this, this is not right. We're going to come after your license and this. And I was like, man, we agreed on this. And mind you, before I sealed it and we agreed on the 5,000, I had them sign. I had them sign a document. Okay, I had them sign a document. So once we signed the document, that was it, man. I did it, got done with it, and whew, man, that was a tough one, man. Oh my gosh. So the reason why I'm telling you this story is that we go through these things as contractors all the time. Dealing with homeowners, fighting with homeowners, trying to understand what they want or where we screwed up at, and trying to basically get out of it without losing too much of a shirt, right? And dealing with these homeowners, I learned a lot, man. One, I should have paid attention more to what we were stamping and things like that. Maybe not done everything all at once, okay? But also learned that I had to get rid of my ego on that, man. Had to let go on that, man, and see it from their side, to try to get out of trouble with that. Because remember, the CSLB is pro-consumer. They're not pro-contractor. They're pro-consumer. And remember, that bond that you pull out is for situations like this. In case the homeowner is never happy, they're coming after it. That's why they have you pull a bond. So, man, that story was crazy. Crazy. Oh my gosh, went through so much. You already know how going through these problems on these jobs and dealing with these issues, you really got to have someone on your side that really understands how this stuff goes down, what happens with it, what to do next, how to deal with it, man, I just wanted to share that story. I know a lot of you guys are going out, girls or people out there are dealing with different type of situations similar to this. Get through it. Let go your ego. Figure out what they want in this and give it to them and get off that project. And have them sign off on it, because later on they can come and bite you in the tail. So with my construction entrepreneurs, I'm going to leave you with that. Crazy story. Years ago. Hustle hard, then hustle harder. Catch you on the next one.